Hey. Okay. Dinner really fast.
Lynette, can I get a sound check?
You're good, Randy.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I can never tell if you're adjusting something or waving.
Waving. I don't know very much about this computer stuff. I can't. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thanks. How about you?
Pretty good. Pretty hot here.
Yeah, it was a warm one today.
Yeah. Hey, I did look through that car thing of yours and got it back to your box, and it's just kind of a standard shift. You can just kind of select if you want. So that's really all it was on the
Okay,
stick.
I'll have to chat with you about it because I want to understand it better.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's basically, and I'll end with this, it's a sports mode
Yes.
type of thing, and that allows just a little bit more finesse and shifting, but we can go over it.
Okay. Mhm.
Type of thing, and that allows just a little bit more finesse and shifting, but we can go over it.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
We
can.
can hear you.
All right, thanks.
Since you can't see our flag, Tim, you'll have to say on your honor that you're looking at a flag in your house. So,
Yeah, I got a flag.
okay,
All right, thanks.
good.
Our flag, Tim, you'll have to say on your honor that you're looking at a flag in your house. So.
Okay, so it's echoing.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
it is.
I wonder where it's coming from.
Did that help?
I guess we'll see. We'll have to test it.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
I think he's frozen. Now he's moving.
Hey, Paul.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. How are
Good
you?
evening, Paul.
Here comes Mary. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I did not hear from Rob or from
Keith.
Keith.
Okay, well, we got a quorum. And there's Keith.
Good morning.
Thank you.
We start this day over.
Seems like I should. But I shaved.
Very
Yeah,
good.
you look great, buddy.
Yeah, I do look better than you.
Always.
Doesn't take much.
It doesn't, literally.
I should bring up to the board my latest problem with that car.
I think the board's already exhausted with problems with that car.
The center muffler fell off, John.
Oh, sure.
No, it did. I ordered a new one.
No way.
Yeah, it did. It just rotted off. I hold you personally responsible.
Man, so I'm putting that on next?
No, it's not here yet.
Oh, okay.
I'll slap it on. It's easy.
Has it got flanges?
Yeah. And I ordered new
Huh.
bolts.
Jerry's joining, so I think we'll go ahead and get going. It's 6 p.m. Everybody, well,
It is exactly.
we lost Kent, but I think we're good. So I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Georgetown Town Board of Selectmen. It is August 25th, 2020, and it is 6:01 p.m. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I can't see me.
You know what?
I'm not on video.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag
of the
of
United
the
States of
United
America,
States of America,
to the republic
to the republic
which
for which
it
it
stands,
Which stands
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for
justice
all.
for
justice for
All right. Call to order. Roll call. I am Lynette Kelsey, police judge. Rob Connell is not here. Keith Holmes,
Here.
John Jennings,
Here.
Paul Hinton,
Here.
Mary Smith,
Here,
and Tim Allen.
Here.
Thank you. Agenda approval. Does anybody have anything they want to add to or change on the agenda, delete, whatever?
got just a couple of things.
Okay.
And just, they're more staff items that perhaps Kent can share some information with. I had a question presented to me today regarding the music at Lucha's for Labor Day and the application process. Maybe Kent's got an update on that. It's scheduled for September 7th, I guess. And then any updates on the sidewalk and curb repair in the downtown district.
Okay, Labor Day. And all right, anybody have anything else? Did you hear that, Kent? I'll just go ahead and speak. When we get to staff reports, Mary would like an update on what's happening for music on Labor Day. And then she would also like an update on the sidewalk and curb repair projects. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Keith wanted to, but he's muted.
I'll make the motion to
I'll
approve the
make it.
agenda as amended.
Damn it.
Mary beat you to it, Keith.
Okay,
So,
I'm seconding it.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
all right. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Audience business. Members of the audience have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Jennifer, do you know if we had anybody for audience business? You're muted, Jennifer. I don't know if you're talking or not.
I'm sorry. Kent and I were talking for a second.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right. Do we have anybody for audience business? Do you know?
I don't believe we do. The only person we have is Dawn Janov, and I've typed, and I spoke with her. She just likes to listen. I did
Right.
send a message through chat. She didn't respond, so I don't know.
Okay.
I think we're good.
She's not shy. She will speak up if she wants to speak.
Yeah.
So, all right. So seeing none, we will move on. So we have the payables from August 7th to August 20th, 2020. Any questions, comments? If there aren't any questions, comments, or objections, would somebody please make a motion to approve the payables from August 7th to August 20th, 2020?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Boy,
second.
people are slow tonight.
So John Jennings made the motion and Tim Allen seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Then we have the minutes of the August 11th meeting, which was a regular meeting. Anybody have any additions, corrections, comments? I had given Jennifer a couple of things. I just wanted the record to reflect that Kim Moth her daughter was also joining the meeting, and her daughter's name is Sophia. And then on page 4 in the COVID-19 update section, second paragraph, the deadline for submission of the grant applications was not actually specified, but the September 30th was going to be the deadline for the grants being actually paid, the checks being written to pay those grant awards. So, and Jennifer checked the recording just to make sure I was remembering correctly. So, anything else? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 11th, 2020 as corrected. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. So we move on to new and unfinished business. We have first thing on our agenda is a Utilities Improvement Project for 2020. It's a bid tabulation and recommendation for award, and I'm going to turn that over to Kent, I believe.
I'll start out, but I'll just leave it to Bob as
Okay.
far as going over the recommendation for award. So go ahead, Bob.
Thanks. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. We had a pretty darn good bid. We had 5 contractors bid. The high bid came from Elite Surface Infrastructure. And that number was way up over $400,000. And then there were 3 bids that landed reasonably close together. RKR came in at $168,000. Brannan Construction came in at just a little under $152,000. And then Jim Noble Incorporated came in at $139,000. So I sent out a bid tabulation to folks. I believe you may have all had the opportunity to take a look at that. And as you might expect, Jim Noble was low on pretty much every bid item, and Elite Surface Infrastructure was pretty much high on every bid item. And then there was a little bit of stuff in between there. So did a background check on Noble. They came back fine, good, no worries. And I had the opportunity to talk to some folks that I have had previous business relationships with, so those references were pretty strong. So since the bid, we've received the additional information that the bid was lacking, which was a subcontractor listing, which they're saying they're going to self-perform everything, and then resumes and bios on key project staff. So with all of that, I'm recommending that the town move forward with award to Jim Noble Incorporated for the amount of $139,080.
Okay. Did anybody have, any of the board members have questions for Bob?
I have a question. What's the timeline for this? When will they start and when do they project to finish? Stop it.
We're anticipating with the board's approval this evening, next steps are for us to get bonds and insurance from the contractor and execute the construction contract. My recommendation would be to give Kent the authority to execute that contract, or not have to come back to a board meeting to execute that contract. In any case, execute that contract in the next 2 weeks, hopefully in the next week. And then we're looking at 3 months to get the project done before winter shuts us down.
Okay, did that answer your question, Paul? Okay, thank you. He gave us a thumbs up. I did have a question. I'm familiar with Jim Noble's name. He's been in the county. He's been doing work for a long time. And were any of the other companies that submitted bids local at all? Do you recall?
I didn't spend a lot of time investigating the other bids, frankly. Okay. Once Noble passed the required, review, I figured that was the appropriate course of action to take.
Okay. Wonderful. Any other questions from the board for Bob?
I just have a question or a comment. I realize we have no control over the weather, but what kind of a situation would we be looking at as far as returning that area back to normal if the weather turns real cold? I mean, are we going to have another gateway situation on our hands, or what?
Okay, I'm not quite up to speed on what happened with Gateway, but in terms of protecting risk on this project, one huge benefit is that the contractor is going to ultimately return the surface this season, back to a drivable surface by putting down the recycled asphalt pavement that you folks already have stockpiled. So that material is there and it's ready to put down. RAP can go down in inclement weather. Obviously not frozen conditions, but RAP is I think we're best positioned to deal with exactly your concern. So, if for some reason things get wacky, we can look at backfilling the project where it is and bringing in the recycled asphalt pavement, spreading it, and getting things buttoned up for the winter.
So when you talk a 3-month timeline, are they ready to, once that contract is issued within the next week or so, given that the holiday weekend is going to come up on us and everything too, are they ready to start?
That is what we've advertised. That's what we've discussed throughout the project. The project schedule has been something of very strong emphasis to the contractors, during the entire process, and the desire to want to get this project complete. We've got essentially we're looking at the months of September, October, and November. So that's our goal is to be done by Thanksgiving. So, and with good luck, we'll be there.
Okay, Kent's got a comment.
And I think one thing also in favor of this project is that there's 2 parts to it. One part's a little larger than the other. As far as the sewer manhole part over by the mobile home park to get done, and then the Taos water main. The Taos water main is the primary part of this project, but if delays are caused for whatever reason, there is a little portion that can be shoved aside if it need be, in a worst case scenario. So.
Kent brings up a great point. We haven't seen the contractor schedule yet. We're going to see that here once we work through the construction contract process. The schedule will be one of the first things they submit. But we could look at and help direct the work such that the sanitary sewer work is something that's done last as opposed to first if there's some attempt by the contractor to do the work in series. Get the water line work done first, and if something is going to wait until next season, it could be the sanitary portion, and that could be a cleaner way to break the project up.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. In terms of the contract, I'm a stickler for doing the not to exceed amounts in contracts. Is that something that people feel strongly about?
It seems like this is a set price, right?
We have a number of bid items in the project. And I believe a few of those bid items do have unit price methodologies associated with them. So, you know, there might be some slight variation in the final number based on actual quantities installed, but those will all be quantities to be field verified in place. So, you know, there'll be absolute certainty with, you know, what the town is paying relative to what the town is getting.
So am I understanding that there would be some kind of clause that would include contingencies, but those would have to come back to the board for approval? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess along with recommending the project amount, it's rather customary to set aside a 5% contingency to address change orders on the project. I mean, that's not an unusual thing to budget for. You know, in this case, we're not talking about unforeseen situations. We're talking about, you know, subtle variations in finished installed quantities. So, but all of those things would be well within that 5% bubble.
Okay, I'm just trying to think ahead, since we don't have an actual contract in front of us, and we're trying to expedite things by allowing the town administrator to sign a contract before we meet the next time, that we cover the discussion that would normally happen when the contract was in front of us.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely appropriate conversation to have. Absolutely. Yeah.
So can we say, oh, sorry.
No, I hope my recommendations are coming across clear. If there's questions about those, please feel free to ask away.
Okay.
Well, I think that because it's already upfront with us, that there, you know, is some wiggle room there. Perhaps we can word this so that it's a not to exceed, but including a 5% contingency, you know, that we're authorizing Kent to sign off on. And that he would bring that information at least back to us so that we're aware of what's.
Okay. Anybody else have comments or questions? Yes, Jerry.
Bob is right in saying that the major protection for the town is that the bid is almost exclusively quantities of things.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see on the page following the bid tabulation, that list of quantities of things. Lineal feet.
Yep.
There's a couple that are each. There's on the following page, there are a couple that are square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the project really can't, the sanitary sewer can't be much longer than 59 feet, you know, so that's the protection I think he's talking about. And if they put in 60 feet of sanitary sewer, then they get $100 a foot, but they're not going to put in 80 feet because they're just not gonna. There's no place to put it. The one item that isn't that same kind of category is the first one, general contract requirements at $25,000, which is, you know, mobilization. There's contractor's profit, I'm sure, in there. And as soon as Bob is done drinking his milk, I'll ask him to describe for the board, because that's a good chunk of this amount. Just maybe articulate a little bit what's in that 25,000 and how that interrelates, if it does, and probably doesn't, with change orders. And so that I think that's pertinent to the discussion the board's having right now. Bob, can you talk about that 25,000?
Sure, absolutely. And also change orders and quantities and those types of things. So it's a mixed bag. The bid form is a mixed bag. There's some quantities and there are some lump sums. The lump sums, we pay on a percent complete. So the first item, which is basically the things that the contractor has to pay for, but are not necessarily measurable by us in the field, okay? There are things that the contractor does behind the scenes that are general conditions related. And it's appropriate for the contractor to be paid for those.
Give us some examples, Bob. Give the board some examples of that.
Okay, it would be like mobilization costs, equipment rental costs, things that are, like I said, behind the scenes that aren't necessarily embedded directly. They might be insurance costs. They may be costs associated with labor. Medical insurance costs for employees. All of those extraneous costs that the contractor has to pay, both labor and equipment and materials, that aren't necessarily incorporated directly in the unit prices that we see in front of us. So it's fundamentally a catch-all that gives the contractor one last bid item to say, okay, everything is in the job that needs to be in the job relative to these extraneous issues. And that lump sum price is not something that can be renegotiated. That's nailed down. The contractor has to present a significant set of circumstances and evidence in the way, to present any ability to change that number. So rest assured, I will be, very diligent in that issue unto itself. And Jerry was spot on. These quantities could they could change a foot or two, but they're not going to change 20. So I mean that's what I meant about nailing down an exact lump sum. Also, as it relates to change orders, a subtle change in quantities is one thing. There might be something that's discovered that the town decides it's appropriate to address now that wasn't discussed or mentioned in the project originally. There's a groundwater underdrain system in the immediate vicinity of the work on Taos. And when we do some excavation, we may discover some things that it's appropriate and timely for this contractor to take and improve for this town that weren't in the project originally. So that would be an opportunity to expand the scope of work, in which case that it would be a situation that I would sit down with a contractor, negotiate those changes, present those changes to Kent and you, the board, and nobody would do anything until you guys sign off on that stuff. Okay? So rest assured, any significant changes in project scope, we will come back to you for approval on.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
So Bob, that brings up a good point though. We know that there's an issue with water and drainage and all of the above on Taos Street. I'm not that familiar with the area by the mobile home park on the other side, but what's your best guess when they start digging? And I know you're not the engineer and you're not the water guy that goes in there, but that has been an issue for us for years before your time even, so I'm not laying it on you. And I can foresee this opening up Pandora's box when we start working on the water issues on Taos Street. I mean, let's be realistic here.
The last 150, 200 feet of Taos, it could Yes, it could present a situation for us. I don't think it would be completely, I think the water's coming to the surface at that point. Where the digging for the water mains occurring is on the other side of the street, on the west side of Taos. But we may take the opportunity to unplug whatever, we know something's blocking. Our guys took care of it for about 20 feet. That's all it was. And we have hesitated to unblock or dig the rest of it, figuring that we'll take out those trees that run along Moreland Park when we do. And it was going to be a much more significant project, might be for a pipe contractor. That might present the opportunity here to address it. We will see more when we get to that location. What's the situation actually on the ground rather than trying to guess from up above. So.
Yeah, there's a distinct benefit to the town in that the contractor has to dig a trench to put in the water line. And the water line is going to be 7-foot bury. So the top of this trench is probably going to be more like 6 foot wide. The cost of putting in a new pipe to convey that groundwater, you're already paying for the major portion of that cost with the water line project. So it would be a real benefit to the town to put in a pipe at this point, potentially at a higher elevation, and convey that, so you're not always dealing with a surface water problem until you get closer to the creek. That would be a recommendation that I would have. But again, that's something that Kent and I can discuss in detail once we get a sense of what we uncover.
So there wouldn't be a problem engineering wise to divert the drainage over across the street and have it run at a higher level in that same location as the water line runs deep.
The potential for that happening, you're right. We could potentially design that. That is correct.
Okay.
Now, obviously, I'm talking in very broad strokes to the board at this point, and there's some nuances that have to be worked out, and a lot of it depends on what we discover. But in general concept, I think there is the potential to take this surface water nuisance and get it below grade so it's not a surface water nuisance, and not have to pay for the excavation component of the costs.
Okay.
That potential does exist for the town.
Okay. Good to know. Good to keep in mind.
Right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question. I forgot to ask this earlier. What's the difference between pavement patching and pavement? I mean, is this going to be paved like the south end of Tall Street was just recently?
The pavement restoration work right now is fundamentally going to take us through the winter. We're going to use recycled asphalt pavement, or RAP for short. The town has a significant stockpile of it that the contractor will be required to go and get that material, spread it, and compact it after the project is done. It's my understanding that the town still has on their agenda a plan to come back and pave Taos as a separate event.
It'll be next year, yes. But there's also a little bit of patching over on 15th Street where the sewer manhole's going in. Correct, Bob?
Actually, the work over there is all in an area that is Class 6 aggregate.
Oh,
So,
that's right. That's off the CDOT.
I mean, we can, yeah, we can finish that off with wrap, if that's what they want. I mean, it's very easy to do whatever CDOT wants in that area as a finished course. So
Okay.
I don't see that as a problem.
But Paul, answering your question, the street project to make it a very good surface will be next year, as soon as possible. As far as this, it's just getting it to a point that it'll be drivable through the winter. And it'll have that recycled asphalt on top. And similar to the other streets, similar to Rose and similar to 14th and Marion and those type of streets. And it will be, and then next year we will come back with full depth asphalt on it. For the entire street, not just for the trench.
Okay, I was unaware that there was a separate project to pave Taos Street.
Well, the paved Taos will end up probably around as much as this or more to do it. So, and the timing wise of it to finish, that's a question towards the end of November. Is it would it be done in time that the hot mix asphalt plants are still operating? So for the trench itself, it'll be back to a condition that is drivable. But this does not include redoing the entire street with a new asphalt surface, no.
Okay.
So I have one question about that. I had to step out for a second, but the trench for the sewer line is how long going to be? What's the linear feet on that one?
The segment that's in class 6 is like less than 20 feet. And then we transition into side slope, that steep side slope going up to the trailer park there, right as you come to the bottom of the hill. So, I think the total lineal footage there is 50 feet or something like that. There's not much total length.
I would, if it's getting late in the year or something and, we're looking at using that recycled asphalt, I would rather see some cold patch on there because that's a high traffic area and it's just going to come apart rather than like on the 15th Street. What was it? The last project we had where they were trying to use that recycled asphalt, they just couldn't get it to hold together. So, I would like to look at that if we get to there.
John. Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing, but when I went out there and saw where that terminal manhole is really far away from where folks are driving. I mean, it's much closer to the grass slope. It's still in the gravel on the flat, but folks won't be driving over this, I don't believe.
I'm comfortable with that.
But I mean,
on Taos,
I'm happy to go out there with you if you want to look at it. And
No, it's fine. I'm comfortable with that. I just, if it's a high traffic area, that was my only point. Just get it something solid.
Yeah.
and if you'd rather have cold mix asphalt, based on the bids we received, I think we can have enough to do it in cold mix asphalt instead of the recycled asphalt on Taos as well. We didn't know what to expect because the last couple bids on projects, we have not done well. And this one with 5 bidders and the price of the project, it fits well within our budgeted timeframe.
Right.
But if we put cold mix down, just realize that at the beginning of the next construction season, spring, summer timeframe, would like to do the entire street of Taos from 10th to 11th.
Right. Okay.
It'll wind up turning into wrapped at the end.
All right. Anybody else with questions or comments? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve this award of the bid project to Jim Noble Inc. for the amount of $139,080 for the 2020 Utilities Improvement Project, and authorize the police judge to sign the associated documents in forms approved by the town attorney and town staff?
I would.
5%. Are we going to add the 5% contingency?
If you want, sure. Plus,
Not to exceed 5%
Contingency.
contingency.
okay,
Does that work, Bob?
I think that's, I mean, addressing that issue right now is wonderful. You know, having it on the record, that just, you know, lets us work within that bubble. Obviously, as I said, anything that changes of any significance, we're coming back to you folks and getting your approval before we move forward with it. So it just makes the next steps in the project so much easier. Otherwise, you get twisted around the axle on something simple later on, and I think we've all been there. I'm just trying to avoid those issues later. That's all.
I'll make the first on that. I'll make the first motion on that.
I'll second.
okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2 on our agenda is a proposal to provide construction engineering services for the water main in the 1000 block of Taos and sewer manhole at 15th Street / High Street. And this is also Bob's.
Yes. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kent.
No, you're fine, Bob. I mean, I was just going to introduce it that Bob had a previous contract with us to develop the plans and specifications and the bid process for this project. And then wanted to present this proposal for the construction services part of this project. And asked Bob for that. He did deliver it. And then I neglected to include it in the last packet, but it's kind of worked out better to have it with this agenda because it's at the same time as the project itself. And I'll allow Bob to finish up regarding what does this proposal include.
Thanks, Kent. So folks, yeah, this project, this is to provide construction oversight to act as representatives for the town, both in the field and in the office to manage the project for the town during construction. So other than very minor project management activities, the major efforts include going through the construction contract preparation, conforming the bid documents and turning them into construction documents, which in this situation is not a significant effort. We've got the contract review, notice to proceed. We've got the construction kickoff meeting. And then once we get into the actual work of the project, there's submittals that need to be reviewed. Pay applications need to be reviewed. We're thinking there's going to be 4 of them. Communication on the project on a weekly basis. We're planning on construction meetings that the contractor will run every 2 weeks, where we go over the project progress and make sure that things are moving as they should be. And then there's a closeout and turning over construction record documents back to the town for their benefit. That's the work in the office. And then in the field, we're planning on, at this point, 1 4-hour visit every week for 3 months. That would be our level of observation in the field. And then when the contractor says he's done, we go through a substantial completion inspection process and a final completion sign-off process. So all of that effort, $29,209. Any questions from?
I guess I'm assuming, that all of the construction, the biweekly construction meetings, well, I guess I hesitate to assume whether they're going to be on site or whether they're going to be done remotely. The construction meetings themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we would, assuming that we're coming out of COVID, I'm seeing the construction community right now. I'm involved in a number of projects in construction, and the construction community typically is wearing masks and conforming to social distancing, and that's the extent of it. These meetings can be held in a construction trailer, and I think under non-COVID conditions would be held there under non-COVID conditions if the contractor was going to bring in a construction trailer. But with the town having the town hall and the meeting room there, there's the potential, if the town would allow it, that we could potentially use that meeting space for those biweekly meetings. We're not going to have a large contingent of folks. I'm thinking we're going to have 6 people, maybe 8 at most. So, and these meetings will last 1 hour, likely. So again, I'm just throwing that out.
Sure. I just, since COVID has changed things, and if they were going to be done remotely, then that would cut down on mileage charges. So I just wondered what the plan was.
Sure. Well, what we typically do is we incorporate our weekly visit commensurate with one of those meetings, so that the travel time for the meeting is the same travel time for our weekly visit.
Okay.
So we're doubling up on the travel.
Okay.
And when Ryan and I spoke with Bob, when we talked about the project, we also said that the construction meetings, that can be a variable. This is the number of meetings that are expected to happen. It may be towards the end of the project where we don't need to meet. So
sure,
that's an up to kind of situation within the contract.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on this contract?
You want a motion?
Sure, if you'd like to make one.
I move to approve the proposal to provide construction engineering services from Arsati Water Consultants for the Taos Water Main Project and miscellaneous sewer main improvements, and authorize the police judge to sign the contract as approved by the town attorney.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the proposal from Orsatti Water Consultants. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bob.
folks. Yeah, really appreciate it.
All right. Next, we have Diamondback Engineering on the 8th Street survey and map.
Police Judge Kelsey and members of the board, this is just actually in discussion with the resident at 8th and Griffith because of the bridge, the one-lane bridge that was redone a few years ago at that location has caused drainage problems at that location. Part of the discussion on the proposals to rectify the situation is involved. We need decent survey work to be done at that location. This is a proposal to do that at that location so we can proceed. We have a couple different plans in mind, both from the town's point of view and from the residents' point of view. And we need some good data with the survey in order to put those plans into effect and make sure that they are truly effective. And it's a small enough amount, but I felt that timing was right to just bring it to the board and just get the approval of the board of this, and also let you know this, how we're moving on this little project that's trying to rectify this situation. So.
Any questions or comments? If not, there's a recommended motion in the packet. If anybody would like to make a motion.
I can make the motion. I move to authorize the town administrator to sign the proposal from Diamondback Engineering and Surveying.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve, to authorize the town administrator to sign the proposal. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. We have an informational item in your packet. I don't know if Kent wants to add any comments, but it was requested by Paul Hingen last meeting that we take a look at the contract that we currently have with Safe Built, just so that we know where we stand. So.
And Jerry may make a brief comment too. I don't know. Just saying this was a contract that was, we've been under contract with Safe Built since 2012. We did renegotiated their contract in 2018, which was before two members of the board were on the board. At that time, we lowered the fee proposal from 90% of services to 75%. And there may have been a question brought up because of the accounts payable for Safe Built, but they only get paid if we received a submission for plan review or for a building permit and for building inspection services. So it's only when we give them work that they have charges for us, an invoice for us. And then the term itself is, there is a termination clause within that. And Jerry, I'll let you speak to that as well.
Yep, termination is 90 days written notice. Doesn't have to be for cause, just be because. That's a little longer than you see sometimes, but or you have projects kind of in the pipeline that they're working on, I think it does make sense. And it requires that they get paid by the rates, for the rates that are for that project, and up to 30 days after termination, if there is a project that is closing out, they put work into it, but then it gets closed out after they're gone. At least that's what the contract says now. And that does address, I think, the more unique situation of a building inspection. It's certainly something they brought to us. We didn't propose that when this contract was originally entered into. But that's how it works. There's no other damages or costs upon termination. It's really just work in the pipeline, they get paid for. And you can terminate for any reason or no reason, and they can do the same thing.
Okay. So it's certainly something we can discuss further at another meeting, or we can talk about it now if you want. Think about it and just let Kent know if it's something you want to explore alternatives to in the future.
I would just like to throw out this comment, and I haven't heard of any complaints really within the last several months, at least 2020, I guess, from anyone who is dealing with Safe Built. But, and I don't have a page number to refer to here, but there's a little chart here under inspection services, under Exhibit A, list of services, with their turnaround times. And that was the complaint that I've heard from some of our, the community when they dealt with Safe Built and the turnaround time. And I'm not quite sure that their chart was adhered to as people were going through the process. So I guess if there's just any communication that we have with Safe Built and anyone applying for any type of permits, that they're aware of the turnaround time on the first comments, second comments, because I don't think that second comments was necessarily adhered to. I think Safe Built was taking a longer period of time, and that was a point of aggravation for some people who were going through that process. So just note to self, note to our potential, building processes. But otherwise, I guess we haven't, like I say, I was getting a lot of complaints prior and really haven't heard anything, but maybe nothing else is going on right now, so.
Go ahead, John.
The thing that I heard was it was that, and what was going on was they'd get to near the end of their timeline, and they'd say, "Oh, we need more supporting documents," and it would start the clock over again. And I don't know if there's a way to write the contract in the future that would say they can do, they can say something like that, but it still has to happen within 15 days or something, something reasonable, because it just kept cycling over and over is what I was hearing from people. And it was just really not knowing the full information, but sounding somewhat unfair.
Okay. So it is my understanding that they supply you, Kent, with regular reports on permit activity. Is that something that the board would like shared on a regular basis, or are we comfortable with just having it go to Kent?
I'd like to see it. I think that gives us a pulse on what's happening in our community, and it gives us a better position to respond or to follow up if we, as we hear things of what's going on, or I've had this issue.
Okay. All right. All right. And next we have the COVID-19 emergency order update. I guess what kind of, the two things in staff items that were on your agenda kind of go together in some ways, because the Census 2020 update has a redirecting of funding proposal that came from the county that kind of would affect the COVID-19 recovery efforts. But Kent, did you have anything for COVID-19 update?
Funds redirected by the county.
Your sound is
Darth
really
Darth
wonky.
Vader's back.
Possessed. Oh, the
We're
help.
an alien. Yes.
He always makes these meetings enjoyable.
Maybe it's
Yes.
just
There you go. And it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I used to wear this 30 years ago, so I don't have anything else regarding COVID.
Okay. Okay. Just to let everybody know, the grant program for business support has gone live. The applications are out there. They've received, as of last week, I think they said 14 or 15, and they were expecting quite a lot more. And we're still working on getting the individual support program structured and figuring out how to do that. So help get the word out, I guess, is just my message, so that if a business is interested in applying for these grant funds, that they don't miss out. So, and individuals as well. So just keep an eye out, please. Did everybody get a chance to look at the funding change proposal that George Marlin had sent out?
Yep.
Okay. I guess considering the latest figures that I saw for the census self-reporting was that Georgetown is kind of falling behind the others. Everybody else is, especially Empire's going gangbusters. They're up to 64% of the estimated, they're up to 64% of the estimated population, and they were way ahead of the 2010 self-reporting level. So and we only have until the end of September before the census cuts off. So I'm looking for ways to make sure that we don't miss anybody. Yes, Kent.
I did have at my house, or my wife told me that the census follow-up people did contact our residents, and because I live in a building with neighbors, there was some confusion with that, and then we may not have been counted. So they are knocking on doors, and they are following up, even though I completed it like the first week the census was being requested, but we may not have been included with that. And I just want to let people know that people are out knocking on doors, and the public should be aware, and they shouldn't be alarmed if there is someone coming to the door to inquire or ask you about things. So.
Okay. And considering what, that they're doing a postcard effort in Idaho Springs, I didn't know if we wanted to do one in Georgetown or figure out some other way to get the word out and make sure that we don't miss anybody. I think there had been some concern about whether the number of second homes that we have here in town would be affecting the reporting rate. And the only reason I can think of that that would affect the reporting rate would be if they actually considered this home in Georgetown to be their primary residence, and that's where they reported their residency or would. And that's kind of personal choice and hard to make a determination from any of our standpoints, but I don't think that the number of second homes that we have here in Georgetown would be affecting the total estimated population. So Anybody else have any thoughts? Okay. Do you want to make a decision on the redirection of the funding, or do we want to get some more information from the county? And actually make our decision at the next meeting, because I don't think it's something that is, I didn't see anything suggested here that was so urgent that it needed a decision tonight, if you haven't had a chance to think about it enough.
I think we should wait then until we can, that they make up their mind and we have a specific item that we're looking at, as opposed to the 3 or 4 choices that were presented to us. It's starting to strike me now, and I realize it's a minimal amount of money on our part, but it's like they're trying to find a way to spend it in a different fashion, and that just doesn't set well with me right just yet. So I'd rather wait.
Do you want me to go back to George and the county and find out any other information, that anything you can think of, that questions I should be asking?
I think they should drive this and let them put something specific together. I don't think we need to be running after them saying, oh, how do you want to spend our money? I think they can come back to us with a very specific plan, and we can review it at that point.
Okay.
I don't know how everybody else feels.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Tim, did you have something?
No, I just said that I agree with Mary.
Okay. It kind of cut off. There was, so,
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
That's okay. No problem. No problem. Okay. In light of that, we will revisit that at our next meeting and plan to take action on the proposal. And so Mary had brought up 2 issues that she would like some updates on: the music for Labor Day.
Music for Labor Day. I had received some inquiry, but we didn't receive a complete application for Labor Day. It was from Nick, but there's been not as smooth communication over the last week or a week and a half regarding that. He had inquired about it, but then that was nothing. So
Can I just jump in? It's my understanding that he was waiting, and this is, second, third hand, that he was waiting back for some communication from you or the town. And it's also my understanding that they've already gone ahead and booked it for Monday, Labor Day. So I guess we should be aware of it. I don't know if promotions is doing anything about it.
I don't have a problem with it. It's just a sound amplification permit, and there's a couple things to follow. That's all there is to it. So,
so maybe we can be proactive and follow up with it.
You bet.
And then be able to get the word out to everybody on the weekly email as it comes up.
Sure.
Okay.
What was the other thing? I missed right at the beginning because I had a...
Yeah, it was an update on the sidewalk and curb repair.
In downtown, the historic downtown.
Hedrick has not given me an updated schedule when that's going to occur. So I need to get back in contact with them. And in fact, I came across that again today, and I was reminding myself to do that today. So I appreciate that. But I had talked with him last week. I thought it was going to be this week, and he had not given an updated schedule. So that was no time to notify anybody or, give the appropriate notifications that it was going to occur. And he hadn't said when his crew was going to come. although it was supposed to be by now. So
When you get that update, would you pass that along to us in your regular emails? Thank you.
I always try to. You bet.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Nice meeting. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn? Oh, yes, Kent.
One reminder, next week we will have the work session on
Thank you.
short-term rental ordinance a week from tonight on September 1st. The calendar is a little different. It's actually Labor Day is late this year on September 7th. So, but it'll be just a work session, and it'll just be some discussion. But and the public will be invited to it. So.
Okay.
Can we get a copy of the letter that was sent out to the the short-term rental owners so that we can?
There was one in your packet.
I didn't see that. Maybe I overlooked it, but I don't seem to have that. Nor did I get it on email.
Part of it's on the back of the, it was the Diamondback Engineering, the last one.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was
Or no, I'm sorry, it was on,
the
back
safe
of-
built. It was after the
Safe
safe
built,
built
yeah.
information.
That's an old letter. That's not referring to this part.
That's
so,
not the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it just
Okay.
intended to be an example?
Yeah.
Okay.
But now that had more to do with the safe build stuff. So
Oh, okay.
didn't really include anything in your packet as far as a copy of the letter. No.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
I got the impression from a communication from you that you were going to be sending something out. So just as a reminder, if you could send that out to us, and then also that information or that you had a memo that I think you meant to share with us at our last meeting that we hadn't received. I'd like a copy of that. You seem to have a lot of good bullet points in reference to the short-term rentals. And
Okay.
I know it's just a work session, but at some point, I'd also like to see a map of sorts separated by wards so that the map is more meaningful to us as to the location of and the proximity of the short-term rentals that we have currently towards each other so that we can try to work through that distancing that is going to be a topic that we're going to, look at.
Okay.
Do you
Okay,
have
thank you.
do you have them mapped currently, or are you going to have to do that?
We'll have to create it, but that won't be that hard.
Okay.
I don't think. Jennifer's probably screaming at me at the other room, but yeah.
Okay. Any other reminders before I invite an adjournment motion?
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's right. Okay, very good. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it very much.
Good night, John.
Night, Mary.
Thanks
Night,
very
everybody.
much. Have a
Bye.
good evening.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, John Jan. Good night, Mary Son.
Right.
Night, Kent.